You won't believe it, but we have a problem. I got a water leak, and I'm finally be able to fix it. So after some pretty heavy rains in New Orleans, it is dripping right here. And I think I know what's wrong with it, and I think the factory installed it wrong. All right, now in full disclosure, I didn't work here at all, or do anything here. You can see the water coming in right there. I looked on the roof and it's not anything obvious. I'll try to explain what I think it is. Pretty sure this has been a problem since it was built at the factory. Pretty sure. Alright guys, I'm stopping for some supplies because I need one thing, because I did run into an issue. We're at the Camping World in Chattanooga. This was pretty nice because it had a nice campground, and then the service is way back there. We got a lake here too. It's a good campground. So let me hopefully just pop in here, get a few supplies, and then when we get where I'm going, I'll hopefully just do a quick repair. Alright, so what I suspect happened is something I've seen many times from Tiffin and other manufacturers with these fantastic vents, because there's only leaking in the front. Let's take a look. So in these fantastic vents, some of these, the hinge that mounts the lid to the base here, gets screwed down on the top, but that hinge is just a piano hinge, and the issue that you run into is that they like to use screw heads that don't fit in between the piano hinge and the actual base. So what we're gonna have to do is get rid of this vent lid hinge and take a look underneath. Let's go ahead and close that. Let me get you guys situated so you can see. But first, this is really gorgeous up here. There's a whole brand new area right there. Wow. Not all fantastic vents mount this way. The ones that are a little bit taller, this vent hinge actually mounts on the side or the curb of the vent itself. But now if you take a look at the sealant, there's nothing wrong with it. It's seamless. It wasn't leaking anywhere from anywhere that I could see. But just based on what I'm suspecting is that the water can get right here and get underneath in between this piano hinge and the vent flange itself. And my big concern is that, now this is self-leveling silicone sealant, so nothing will stick to it other than self-leveling silicone, which is what I got. Guys, remember, I got it from Camping World. This is Nulfex 311, but the fantastic vent lids are actually pretty easy to take off, unless they've been covered in sealant, like they always are. Let's see if I can't find the edge of them. And this is silicone. It stretches. Very, very rubbery. It's not like Dicor at all. Alright, yeah, so it looks like they used hex-headed screws. Those are 1/4 inch, and they're not going to go in between. So I think we're going to be pretty close. What the problem is, it's just going to be 4 screws holding the vent lid down. That sealant is not going to want to let it go up, so let's go ahead and break it free. Okay, so now you should be able to see the screw heads that aren't down all the way, and I don't know if you guys can see, looks like remnants of water and dirt in there. So we just open that up. We can see that screw head, and that screw head aren't actually down all the way. In fact, when I get it out of the way, you'll be able to see a lot of exposed threads in there. So definitely it was probably leaking from here. You can see the dirt trail, especially in this one once I get that screw out of there. Now you just pop it out. And you can see right there, the wheel will come out of that track really easily. So once those 3 screws are out, this vent lid's really easy to replace. Now hopefully you guys can see this a little bit better. You can see that screw is not down all the way because it couldn't go past the hole in the that vent hinge. So if you get a 1/4 inch nut driver, the factory you would use to put these down, I can't believe they're still having this problem. They were doing this 10 years ago. A 1/4-inch nut driver there. Should be able to see that it can't fit down through there. So it can't fit past through there. So that means it can't drive the screw past that point. That becomes the stop point for it. So now if we just go ahead and undo that screw, right there, right there, and right there, you should be able to, a good 1/4 inch was still sticking up on these. They weren't down all the way, so they weren't actually sealing anything, but they were making a nice little channel for water to run into, because lap sealant just redirects water. It doesn't actually seal. The seal is going to be underneath this flange. I try to stress that out as much as I can. So that's really, I think, what the whole issue was. Once water gets into this point, it can come up above this level, and it's going to be underneath this hinge, and you can actually see the water trail on that, where water can just go in between the flange and the hinge, and it'll just fill up these little pockets right here. So really, this isn't going to be a very difficult repair. It's just going to be a matter of racing the clock, because silicone will not stick to wet surfaces, and it won't cure very well if if it starts raining on it too. So I need to make sure I do this when it's dry. If it does rain, it would take at least a full day of being dry before silicone will stick again. So I have to make sure I do this before it starts to rain. And I don't know if you guys can see the clouds behind me. They look quite menacing. All right, so the factory was just using 1/4-inch hex drive screws. I don't know if you can see a 1/4-inch head. Self-tapping screws. That's what the style they were using. The screw head itself will fit through that hole right there. The driver won't, so it won't go past. So that's, once a screw gets to that point, it's not being set down any further, and it's not sealing it. It just basically punched a hole and didn't seal it. What the factory should have used was either a standard RV square-headed screw, or more ideally a taper-headed screw. Either one will work just fine, because the driver, it's either going to be a Phillips number 2 or a square number 2, and those will fit through that opening just as easy as can be. Alright, so let me just go ahead, trim that back, trim that back, and trim that back. Now, that'll be a good transition point for the new sealant to stick to. Now, we're not going to be very high tech. We just got some glass cleaner, standard all-purpose cleaner, because again, the sealant won't stick to dirt. Well, it will. It'll stick to the dirt, and then it won't stick to what you want it to stick to. Right. So again, this flange is sealed really well. It's just there's 3 holes right there that were a hole straight down into the roof. That's why it was only leaking at the front. So all I have to do is basically seal up these holes, 1, 2, 3 holes, put the vent lid back on, and we're good. That's all I have to do. Clean this off so that it'll be easier to seal back up. Clean that off and clean that off. We're going to use high-tech, oh, I guess you can't see it through there. High-tech 100% silicone sealant, because what the lap sealant on top is going to be silicone, and silicone will stick to silicone, but that's about it. So all I'm going to do is basically fill that entire void with sealant, and with sealant, and with sealant. So that was pretty easy. So these holes actually don't go through the flange itself. They just go into plastic, so they're just pretty short looking wood screws that actually hold that down. But I'm going to try to discourage water from puddling right here, and there, and there, and there. Again, that's just going to keep water from puddling. And couldn't hurt to put a dab at each one of those holes too. I mean, it could hurt. The next guy that has to change out this vent's not going to be happy with me. Alright, with this on that lift arm, now we just have 2. Alright, got my Phillips bit back on. Put those screws back in. Right. I'm going to use those square-headed, I think these are number 8s, about an inch long. They don't need to be too long. They're about the same length as the ones the factory used. Those are the right ones. They're just... I'm just going to use some high-tech solvent to kind of cut through this layer of dirt on top. Alright, so I'm good there. All I have to do is seal it over the top with some lap sealant. Alright, again, we're just going to use a Nulfex 311 or the Heng self-leveling silicone. Self-leveling silicone. Oh, that's wrong language. Self-leveling RV silicone. Remember, nothing's going to stick to this other than silicone, which is why we're using silicone. Even a Turnabond wouldn't stick to this stuff. So just use this as a lap seal. Again, all a lap seal does is redirect water. It's not a primary source of sealing. Alright, that's done. That was simple. Let me go ahead and do the other one. Alright guys, so there you have it. That one's done, and then that one's done. I didn't need it, but I did go ahead and do a little spot test right there, just to make sure there wasn't water getting underneath it. But yeah, pretty simple repair, only because I've seen this so many times. It's not just Tiffin, it's just about every manufacturer that uses these fantastic vents. For whatever reason, they don't realize that it's not going to work, and they didn't tell the workers. So, just using the wrong type of screw head caused this water leak. So I took the trim off a few days ago because we had a water leak. We've been traveling with these wires sticking out for quite some time, so I could always make sure it wasn't leaking bad. Jam some paper towel up there periodically. Now I can put this back away, and then this job will be done. Right. All right, and with that, it's done. Now I just have to wait for it to rain. I don't know if it's going to rain today. It's supposed to be clear skies tomorrow. That was it, guys. Really appreciate you following along to the other side of the country. This has been quite a great trip. This is the worst thing that's gone wrong. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to jinx myself. I'm still not back yet. So let's go ahead and say I'm glad. 1, this wasn't my fault, and 2, it was just a really small leak and I caught it really easily. All I had to do was bring the front jacks up a little bit, and it kept the water from running to the front, ran to the back. Very small leak. And yeah, I do know that those YouTube shorts may not be the funnest things to watch, but it's the easiest way for me to edit on the road and send them to you. I appreciate you guys that are watching them, and if you're enjoying them, I appreciate you enjoying them. They're just really easy for me to throw up on there. I'm going to try to keep putting out more videos. I'm already booked up solid the next 2 weeks when I get home, so I'll try to get a lot of videos out, but we'll see how it goes. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. So now, luckily, I'm an Eagle Scout, and I'm prepared. I was planning on the worst and hoping for the best. I brought what I thought wouldn't be necessary to do any work that I might have to do. So I have my tools with me, some supplies. Let's see if we can't fix it. But we've gone, we'll call it 2,500 miles at this point. I think a little bit more than that. And this front end has held up fantastic. No cracking, no squeaking. The dash didn't fall apart. The front didn't fall apart. In fact, I think it would be difficult to know anything was ever done to it, to be honest, because I was expecting that dash to squeak really bad or to have a lot of air leaks. We haven't had any issues like that. Entry door didn't have any wind noises to it. That was it. There you go. Arizona to Tennessee. One issue. Hopefully, Tennessee back to Arizona. No issues. Hopefully. No, I'll update you guys with all the other knicky-knack things that we found. Thanks a lot. So I couldn't decide if I wanted the 311 or the Hengs, even though they're interchangeable. Check out these. I've never seen these before. They're little toy cars, but they're trailers. That's a holiday house. Those are rare. This one, I don't know why Winnebago's on there, but check out this. It's an air flight. It's very similar to my 61 Shasta compact that I rebuilt. And then this is a important one. 61 Airstream Bambi. I feel like maybe I rebuilt that. So, in a perfect world, I just need to find a holiday house, and then I would have completed the trifecta of vintage trailer rebuilds.